That's why we're here, bro. This is real tech talk. Boom shakalaka. So who the hell are you, bro? You know, what are you into? What do you do? Yo, you can keep it real here. Tell me about these real estate traders.
Eric Brody is the managing principal of CEMVC LLC. All opinions expressed by Eric and podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of CEMVC LLC. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions. Clients of CEMVC LLC may maintain positions in the securities discussed in this podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Real Tech Talk with your host with the most, E. Breezy. I am here today with my girl, Esther Altura. We're going to talk about, and I always discuss it, not every technology has to be the most sophisticated. It actually has to work. And today, the technology we're bringing to the table is impacting the multifamily business. And if you recall, we talk about it all the time. Multifamily's problem with technology is they can't determine how it increases NOI. Well, today, Esther has come up with a solution in her company, DrizzleX, that actually has an impact immediately, is simple technology that's not that simple, has an impact to increasing your NOI. And she flew, I only know about 4,000 or 5,000 miles to come see us. So Esther, thank you so much for flying in this morning to be with us. Welcome to Real Tech Talk.
Thank you for having me here.
Of course. So Esther, let's briefly talk about, in one sentence, what have you created?
I created a solution for multifamily properties to manage water in their properties.
And why? Why is that important?
Because water was used to be very cheap and nobody really cared about it so much, cared about the expenses. So most water was paid by the landlord. Mm-hmm. And most properties, multifamily properties, are constructed in a way that you cannot put meters next to each apartment.
That's correct. So, especially in New York City, we get one water meter.
Right. Because the pipes, instead of going horizontal, the way pipes in your home, you have a meter and then the pipes come in and then they branch into the apartment and you know how much water you have if you put a meter in front of your home.
Sure.
But in apartment buildings, they have 1 meter and the pipes going vertical, which means if you have in a toilet, all the toilets are being fed by one pipe. All the sinks by one pipe. So there are many pipes in an apartment and there is no one singular place to really put a meter there. So you have a situation where the landlord pays for the water, the entire water bill, but the people who are using it are the tenant who don't really know how much they use. They never saw a water bill in their life, and they are not reporting about leaks. They're not reporting about problems. So water became very expensive, and water abuse and water leaks are very big in apartments, and there is no way to really recoup it.
Now, let me ask you, though, the original water meter that comes into your property, though, does calculate all the water usage.
In the building.
In the building. So you have no idea. So now you're saying that, again, I agree with you. There's a major riser that then has a bunch of horizontal runs to all of your appliance. I mean, to your fixtures, to your showers, to your toilets, to the rest of it. Fine. I agree with you. That is a massive problem. But then how do you then impact it, right? Then how do you actually do something that is cost effective, makes sense, giving you the information that you need so you're not just chopping out every pipe?
Okay.
How did you then even think about that problem?
Okay. So what we understood is that there is no way to find and to quantify the water that goes into an apartment. So we are quantifying the water that goes out. And that means we are putting fixtures, we are putting water meters on each fixture in your apartment, in every apartment. So you're putting one in the toilet, in the shower, in the sink. And those meters, their only job to do is to collect data. They are data collectors. They communicate it outside to the cloud. And from the cloud, now we know how much each apartment is using, because the sum of all the water meter, all the micrometers that we have on the fixtures is how much an apartment is using.
Well, let's back up, because that's like, there's a few things that I see that could be an issue, and tell me how you solve that. So the first one is, okay, so you want to put a meter onto every fixture. Well, isn't that somewhat intrusive? If you have to go to every fixture, chop a wall, how do you do it so that the ability, let's say the barrier to entry to even putting it on those fixtures isn't so huge that a landlord's like, don't do that, don't mess up my property?
So what we're doing is we do not chop any walls, and we do not need any plumbers to do that.
So how did you solve that?
We are attaching it to the angle stop. Each fixture in your apartment. Each sink, each toilet has an angle stop that you can close it. We close it. There is a flex line that goes from the angle stop to the sink or to the toilet. So we are attaching it to it.
So you have a flexible solution to it where you said, where would the least amount of impact be?
Right.
Then you created a product that could then fit there.
Right. So it will fit any size of plumbing, any size of 3/4, half, whatever you have. It takes about 5 minutes to do each one of them. An apartment can be 15 minutes and we're out. No cutting walls, no cutting pipes, nothing. Very simple.
Okay, so that's number one. The second thing you said was each fixture is picking up data. And as we know, because we have something called a whoop strap. You ever heard of a whoop strap? So a whoop strap is giving bioanalytic data on like the human body. Okay. You wear the damn thing and it takes like 3 weeks to know. Like you can't get data day one. It takes a little while. So first is you are collecting information. How long does it take to get information to create a baseline of understanding the water usage in a building?
It's instantaneously. So the moment when we install, immediately you get leaks. You get alerts. We're sending alerts to landlords when we find a problem.
Wait, but don't you first have to calculate water usage? That means that each of the individual meters has to calculate to the total usage to set a baseline?
Not really. Because, for example, a toilet, when it flushes, it shouldn't take more than half a minute. If a toilet flushes and it takes 3 minutes, we're saying there is a leak here. There is a problem. So we're going based on quantity and length of time.
All right, so let's talk about then the next problem that I see. So historically, you're now saying that that data is immediately transmitted, which means that it's IoT. So explain to our audience even what IoT means.
IoT is Internet of Things. And that means any kind of thing today, for example, cameras that you have, right? How can you see what the picture that's being transmitted out? It's because it goes to the cloud and then it's accessible through internet on your dashboard.
So it's connected to the internet. So IoT means everything being now connected to the internet. So how is this connected? Is this IoT?
Yes, so that's definitely IoT. We're using communication, a form called LoRa, which stands for long range. It's a radio frequency. It's not Wi-Fi and it's not SIM. So we do not need any SIM from the building. And we have batteries in there that last for 10 years. We give 10-year warranty on the battery. So those things, every time they collect data, they send it to outside through LoRa to what we call a gateway, which is a router. We have a router which basically will control about 50 apartments at one shot. All the data goes there, and from there with SIM, it goes to the cloud. We're using Amazon's cloud, AWS, and there we have the database. So we accumulate enormous amount of data. We are a data company, really, and we have right now about 120 million records of how people use water at home. Nobody has some data like this because water was measured outside of the home. Now we measure water. We know how much in the cold sink, in the hot sink, in the kitchen, in the bathroom, toilets, anything. We know what is a pattern of data.
So let me ask you, you've seemed, and I'm fascinated. Let me give you a case study real quick, a use case, and then you tell me if it's possible. And then I want to go back to why you, okay? So first and foremost is, so a friend of mine calls me up. He wants to purchase like a 150 unit building in Alabama.
Okay.
And he wants to understand if the below grade pipe is leaking water.
Okay.
Would it be possible to solve that with your product?
Well, not directly. Because we monitor indoors, in the apartment. Each apartment we monitor. We do not monitor the pipes outside, but...
No, not outside. What about exit?
Okay. It's not part of a unit, right? It doesn't have a way to connect it the way we're doing it. So we are using different methods. We are connecting to the main of the building itself. And then, through algorithm, through AI, what we're doing is we're checking how much is the entire building and what is the sum of all the units together. If there is a difference, we know there is a problem somewhere.
Do you think you can do the same thing on the exit, and then that way they would know if you know what the what comes in, and then you're going out is not the same? You would have to make an assumption that there could be like
That's exactly what we're doing. That's exactly what we're doing. We have one on the main of the building, and then we have internally in the apartment. The difference is, if there is a difference, there is a problem. And then we can look where the problem is.
So, Esther, let me ask you. It seems to me that you solved in a bunch of disparate industries this product. And how did that happen that you were the one to do it? So the first one is mechanical engineering. Then there's tech. Then there's water. why you? Where did this happen? What is your history that came to a place where you're solving all of these, different issues and it's coming to a singular product? What's your background?
Okay, so my background is really a mathematician. And I'm a software engineer.
Obvious,
And I'm a software engineer. And actually, I was a project manager. I worked for large companies and managed and developed very nice large products, software packages. In the same time, I was also a real estate investor. I invested in multifamily. And while working as a property manager, I saw that water is a major problem. It was then, and it's still now. And the problem is that sometimes at the end of the month, I have no profit because all the profit went to some spike in the bill, which I got 2 months later, and I have no idea where it is, right? So I have to go.
So now your mind, which is taking mathematician, software engineering, and then saying, here's a down and dirty issue that I'm having on my own assets.
Right.
And that was the beginning of you trying to solve it?
That's the beginning of the time to solve it. And I did all kind of primitive stuff, like actually picking up the manhole once a week and reading the meter to see if there is a difference and is it part of the norm. There was nothing available.
Let me ask something. How'd you pick up the manhole? Isn't it pretty
Not
heavy?
Me.
Okay. I was making sure,
Not me. But with a property manager, with a building manager, I would do it on a weekly basis, trying to control it, because sometimes you see the bill goes up. And it's not so much. So you say, should I send the plumber to knock on all the doors? And that means bad relationship with the tenants.
Sure.
And plumber costs a lot of money. Or should I just let the leak go and waste water? Now, I'm Israeli. And in Israel, every drop counts.
Well, that's right. Because let's go to that history for a second. Israel is one of the only countries that's fighting back the desert by desalination, am I right?
Correct. But even before it, in 1955, a law was enacted in Israel that you cannot build a unit, a dwelling where people live, no matter where you are, without a meter. Nowhere in the world anybody has it. Now in California, in 2018, they realized the same thing. If people pay for their own water, they conserve water. So in Israel, even though we all pay for water, we still have we always had ads and campaigns, and as a young kid, you do not waste water. So for me, seeing leaking faucet was really against my grain. And when I saw that my building is leaking so much, and I have no control over it, I don't know where the leaks are, I don't know who is abusing water, it really bothered me. And I was looking for a very long time for a solution, and there was no solution at the time. Now, another thing that came in, my family I have 4 kids, and everybody's very technologically oriented, and we kept talking about it. I need an answer. And my youngest son, who is a product designer, picked up, and he said, I think maybe now is the right time to do it. It was like 2016, maybe 2015.
And that's because things could be IoT. Right.
Because IoT came in, and now you can digitize the analog reading of meters. Batteries are taking much longer. So at that time, we felt that we can ride on that and develop something. And we went around to engineering companies, because both of us are not engineers, mechanical engineers. And we looked for it, and we said, we understood that we'll need a few of them in an apartment, so it has to be low cost. The entire...
Well, non-intrusive, low cost, not bother your tenants. Like, there's a lot of things.
Accurate, and in a small measurement like this, to be accurate, it's difficult. So we went to different management companies, engineering companies, and nobody picked up. They said, we cannot do it less than $150 a piece. And
so then there's this economy of scale issue. Even in doing so, is there enough profit if it's going to cost that much to do it?
Is anybody going to buy it? It's not going to be profitable. It's not going to be worth it. So my son started to work on his own, doing Arduino and stuff by himself. The first micrometers that we had was in his apartment, and he started to do it, and it worked. And the funny story is that his wife is really very much into climate and conservation, and they taking showers, one take in the morning, one take in the evening. And we're looking at the shower, we're looking at the reading now.
Well, first they should conserve by showering together. I'm saying as a, I'm just saying as a household, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Well, let's say they don't. Okay, no problem.
They don't. So in the morning, the shower always was 80 liter a shower. Yep. In the evening was 40 liter a shower. So she had it proved. You see, I conserve water, you wasting water. Because in Israel, when people shower, they close the water between soaping.
Oh, wow.
In America, they don't.
No.
My son is American. He doesn't close. So we could see that was a beginning of water conservation. We can actually follow a fixture and see how it's being used. And at the beginning, we have something very primitive, and we just started in the Corona time. So nobody would let us go into the apartment, and it was difficult. So in 21, we really started. And since I came from the real estate market, I had a lot of big network of people who are in there, and some of them let me put it in, and we started, and it was like a miracle.
So how is it going? So tell us a little bit just about the overall business, because I think it's quite clear that it's obvious to me, if you can get it in, if the costs have come down, it almost seems like a no-brainer that all would do it. You can't be the only company out there that's attempting to attack it. So tell me the following. Number one, how many units you're now in? And then two, what's making you guys so different and the expansion just so fast and like the velocity?
Okay, so we are in about 10,000 units right now, and we keep growing in high percentages.
What markets?
Every year. We are in Los Angeles mainly because that's where I'm from, but now we spread all over the country. Since people are doing self-installation, so they don't really.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge. Isn't that whole thing where Nest and like, what's the doorbell one? Ring. And was so popular is that it was DIY, do it yourself?
Yes.
So you are DIY.
Definitely DIY. And you don't need to be a technician to do that. It's real easy to do. And we have a lot of training and instructions. And we have also customer support that support people.
Right. And since it's IoT, you can say, look, it didn't work yet. Like hit the thing. Or like you don't have to go there.
Sometimes the gateway maybe not connected right or not in the right place. So we'll tell them where to do. We have a very powerful dashboard where they can see all the activities. They can see and they get alerts. The moment there is a problem, showers, that, for example, we detect when the shower heads are illegal because the legal shower head is supposed to be less than 2 gallons a minute. Some people take it out and they put a disc shower
what do you get? You take out the limiter. You flick the limiter
Not
off,
even
right?
take out, they take the whole thing out, unscrew it, screw theirs in, and it instead of 2 gallons per minute, it can be 5 gallons per minute, 6 gallons per minute. So, and shower is a third of the water used in a family. So you're talking about a huge amount. So the first thing we come in, we find leaks that are there, and we're sending alerts to the landlord so he immediately can see them, and then we follow up with reports and reminders and telling them probably what's the problem. It's a flapper, it's this or that can be wrong. So so
it's also the speed. It's not months and months and months.
No.
It's immediate.
Everything is immediate. And the first bill that they get, usually it's a shocker. We just got into a very big company, like 80,000 units, affordable housing, and we're doing a pilot with them. And the first bill, after we installed, 40% off the bill. We save them 40%.
By focusing the maintenance energy on where they were losing water.
Yes. They are, because we're telling them exactly where it is. Until now, they had a spike. They don't know where it is. They have to knock on all the 200 doors and look at all of them because tenant will say, no, we don't have a leak.
Yeah, it's a waste of time. I agree with you.
So right now, they are going in. We're telling them exactly where the leak is. It is in this building, in this address, in this unit, in this bathroom. If there are few, we tell them which bathroom it is. And they go in and bingo, it's there. And they will fix it.
So you're immediately impacting the net operating income. So tell me a bit about then the economics. So you said before it cost $1.50 to manufacture. So I assume you guys started to manufacture them to reduce costs. No, you said in the beginning when you were looking at it, until the costs came down, it didn't make sense to manufacture it. So did you start manufacturing them?
We are manufacturing those. It's all proprietary. Everything inside here, what you see, it has batteries in there. It has a propeller to find out how much water is there. There's a communication. Of course, there is a brain. And the brain tells them when is a leak and when it's supposed to.
And you were able to reduce those costs to making what is the economic model then?
Okay, so basically we're selling a whole apartment. If they outfit the whole apartment, $225. The same price as if you put just a unit, a unit outside of the apartment. The same thing, those 7 units. But with us,
that's per unit per year.
Per unit, no, one time.
Okay, one time upfront,
one-time
boom.
Cost. And then we have a SaaS. SaaS is a monitoring fee,
Correct.
And we're charging $6 a month for monitoring fee. So they pay $72 a month, $72 a year, sorry, but their saving on average is about $300. So there is a big savings there.
Yeah, in 2 years, they're getting back their return on investment. Or
9
1 year.
months. 9 months, they're getting back, 9 months to a year, they're getting back the investment. And then every year, they are making about $250 a month. We have a customer who has 2,000 units with DrizzleX, and they are saving $650,000 a year.
Yeah, it's fascinating too, by the way, because in the data game on multifamily, there's a line item that everyone's trying to check. Let's say, water and sewer, right? And it's just the line item. And you can't compare that to your neighbor, the next. So they're making these assumptions on that cost. Right. Now, there's going to be another problem, which is, by the way, this is a DrizzleX building. So you actually have to accept the water and sewer number because it's more accurate than your just, survey of what it's going to be.
And it's much less than your neighbor. It's 30-40% less than
Which
your
has
neighbor.
is it proven now? Because now you said how many units? 80,000 units?
No. We are 10,000 units.
10,000 units. You have 10,000 units of information. Right. Are you able to compare with now, are you getting the data of your neighbors to know what their usage is?
Well, we know usages in general, right? And we compare it to ourselves.
Of course.
What we're doing is we're taking the water bill from the city before DrizzleX and after DrizzleX. It's the most objective comparison.
It's obvious, right?
And we have on average with all our 10,000 units, we're saving 30% of the cost. And that's not including the energy that we're saving, because if you conserve on showers and on hot sink, then you are conserving energy. And then the plumbing. You do not need to send the plumbing searching everywhere.
So tell me, what's the future roadmap then? So what's the goal then for 2024 and 2025? Get it into more units?
Yes.
Where does it expand? What are your thoughts?
So we are keep going. What we are working with is in a method of land and expand. When we have customers that coming in, they don't know who we are new technology, we tell them, come in, we are going to make a pilot. We're going to give you a very special price for pilot. We are going to help you. We are going to help you with the installation. Try it for a few months, see how it works, and if you like, then expand. And then you come up with a roadmap. When do you want to expand? You don't have to do it in one time. You can do it slowly and slowly integrate you.
So tell me this, Esther, because there seems to be this issue, right? Tech had this problem with these major landlords where they were like, it's going to work. And then it wasn't working, right? So really they got hurt. So at this point, you're like, we've got a structure for that. We'll let you sample it, see that there's a change. And then for you, it's DIY. You've really solved that major issue, right?
Yes.
Where they can see it immediately.
Yes, they can see it immediately. And we have a customer that is water managing about 60,000 units. We put it in. And before we put it in, he wanted to see that we're really doing the right thing. So he actually overhauled all his toilets and made sure that they're all working right. We put it in, and immediately we found 2 toilets leaking. So it's foolproof.
So what's your major issue then? So it sounds to me now it's like market like crazy, own the marketplace. What's your biggest hurdle right now?
Well, scaling up is usually an issue. How to, we manufacture it in China to make sure that we have all the supply coming in at the right time. That's, supply chain can be an issue. And for the customers to expand in a big numbers, working with the customers to do that.
But you don't have a problem if they did. Meaning, if your problem is I can't manufacture enough units, that's a great problem to have, right? That's not a customer and a demand side issue.
Yes, we do. We can, and actually that's not a problem. Is we can. We're working on our supply line, increasing it. We are in this crazy stage where you're growing up and you're still developing your product, because our product is everything. It's hardware, it's communication, it's software. Everything cutting edge. There is nobody else that does it. There is nothing else that you can really sit on. So you have to develop everything.
So that's your biggest advantage is DIY.
Yes,
and it's done.
This is our market barrier. Coming up with what we came up with after years of experimenting and working with property management, which is not piece of cake, and convincing them to do it, and then they become your best fans, and they're supporting you and spreading the word. We hardly did any marketing so far. We have 1 salesperson, and most of it is word of mouth.
Well, now you hit the best show in the country, so now everybody's coming to you now.
We're definitely hoping for that. We have great customer service. We never had a customer leaving us. Customers are
How many different, so you have 10,000 units. How many different customers is that?
We have almost 60 customers.
Wow.
Some of them are smaller. Smaller, we mean like 3,000 units. Some of them are large, 80, 70. One of the biggest customer now is looking to do a pilot with us. Our technology works. It works.
Yes.
We never have false positive. We never tell you there is a leak and you won't find the leak.
Yeah, but by the way, even if you were 50% correct, like I know everyone always likes to be like absolutely perfect, but like even if you were 50% better, the value is there, right? So I know that you're saying it's perfect, which is amazing, but like it doesn't have to be super effective.
Yes, but it is, and we also are now doing billing because we know exactly how much each one is using. So until now, to do billing, you have to have each unit separately. Have to have a unit, a meter, and now we have virtual units, virtual sub-metering. So we can tell you each apartment how much it is and you can bill them. So places that are allowed to bill can start billing tenants that you couldn't do before. So that's another big advantage to landlords.
100%. So let me ask you some rapid fire questions, not to do with DrizzleX, okay? Where do you hope to see property technology in the next 5 to 10 years?
I hoping to see it in all aspects of property management. Property management is very old. I still have people who do it with pen and pencils. They have 1,000 units and still do it for people to go. And I think it's happening because the next generation is taking over.
Well, I agree with you. It's like, how do we get sensors in the field to give us data about our assets for accuracy and just for information if you just get it from the source? So that I agree with you. Next question. AI, is it our friend or foe?
It's a friend, definitely.
Why?
Because I believe any advancement, it depends how you take it. But it brings you one step forward. So people were used to be afraid of computers. And look how would you do it without it? I'm sure AI will move us as human beings a step forward so that our brain can do the next big thing. Don't have to worry about the mundane stuff.
No, I agree with you. I say that argument all the time. I'm like, if you can get rid of the low-level tasks so that your brain can be in the moment of the more complex stuff, wouldn't that be of value, right?
Definitely.
All right, so what do you think is your next big feature on DrizzleX? If you're doing now water, you're getting that data. What do you think is the next feature?
Next feature is shutting off water from far. Which means if we detect a big leak, you can shut it off. The system can shut it off. The landlord can shut it off. And you are saving a lot of water. Sometimes you have tenants who are in disagreement with the landlord. They'll open the sink and go to work because nobody would know that they are the ones who do it. Now, we can have a way that the system can measure it. It's on for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is that the landlord decides. Time to shut it off. You can save so much water on that. So that's an insurance company love it. So that's one of the next features.
I like that. That's great.
That's one of the next features that we're working on.
If you could describe DrizzleX in 3 words, what would it be?
Water management for any landlord with any type of building.
That was way too many, but you did good. It's the only one
Sorry about that.
No, it's great. So what is 2024? Let's say, what's your goal? You got 10,000 units. It's almost May. It's almost my birthday.
Yes.
So what would be your goal for the end of 2024
I
for
would like to
DrizzleX?
double it by then. I would like to get into 20,000 plus, and we are on the way to it. We sign up very large companies, and they are going to be expanding in big numbers, so at least double it.
And I think it's entirely possible. And personally, I've seen many of the companies that are out there with sort of similar, trying to attack the same place, but none of them are DIY. None of them are just simple. And it's like, seems to me that like that is sometimes what it takes to be the most successful. And it took a mathematician, software engineer who owned buildings to solve it. So listen, I really appreciate you coming in from thousands of miles away.
Thank you.
And
appreciate it.
if they're interested, hit me up and I'll connect you to Esther. And she'd love to take all your questions, or at least give you to the people who she works for if she's too busy running around the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Boom shakalaka. Like I told you, episode number 48 was bringing the fire. The bottom line is as follows. People were bringing tech to the multifamily industry and not getting results because it was impacting the NOI. She came up with the solution. Why? Sensor costs came down. IoT was there. Battery backup made sense. And they put together something that's obvious to me is an actual medicine in our industry. If you can DIY, do it yourself in a multifamily space, Get a baseline reading of what your water is. Know that in 9 months, it's going to reduce your cost. How could you possibly not be interested in installing that product? It's a no-brainer. And let me tell you something. I never say it's a no-brainer. They chose a case study and a use case that makes perfect sense. To me, this is one that if you have multifamily out there and you're not using it, you are at a disadvantage. My girl Esther at DrizzleX is getting it done. Peace.